All right, welcome back inside the law, everyone. I'm your host, Philip Holloway. Happy Super Sunday. We got a great show, I think, coming up today. I'm going to start out just a little bit differently. As many of you know, I oftentimes will play a couple of videos right at the very beginning to kind of show where we're going, but I want to try it just a little bit different today. Of course, we've got a couple of great guests. We have my fellow LawTube streamer, Donnie On. Donnie On Direct is her channel. She'll be in here with us. And of course, your friend and mine, Rachel Kaufman, and maybe, just maybe, a very special cameo. All right. So what do we got going today? Well, sometimes, we have this intersection of law and politics. Now, normally I try to keep this show not too terribly political, but sometimes there's an intersection that you just, we can't avoid it because that's what's in the news, right? We've got, leading up to this year, we had all of the Trump cases and the other things that we talked about on the show. And we also had, YSL and some other big name criminal trials that were underway. But then after the first of the year, we've had forest fires in Los Angeles. We've had, terrorist attacks, and we've had, of course, the inauguration and a change of occupants of the White House. So the news cycle has been really just all politics. But now we've got some legal stuff popping up. So, of course, what does that mean? We've got New York Attorney General Letitia James, and her lawfare is starting back up, but in a different way. Of course, she's now trying to sue and has sued, along with some other attorneys general from a few states, has, of course, sued the Trump administration due to its, let's just call it, the spending reforms and the Elon Musk involvement in cleaning up the waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government. So we're going to take a look at what a federal judge has done and other federal judges. But I think we have a clear problem here for reasons that we will get into very shortly. But what else is going on? What else is going on in the news? Look, this USAID stuff, which is on that's a related issue. Some of this stuff, guys, is just, outright seems like maybe possibly criminal. Some of it actually smells like actual RICO and racketeering. But before we get to all of that, we're going to check in on our friend, Madam District Attorney Fani Willis.
Ain't nothing more powerful than the odor of mendacity.
All right, so what's Willis up to? Well, she has a funding problem. Now, we're going to get into all of that first, but before we do, let's a big Inside the Law welcome back to our friend Rachel Kaufman. Rachel, good afternoon. How are you?
Oh, a little tired, hanging in there.
A little tired. And also, hang on, Rachel, hold that thought. We want to hear all about it. But we want to welcome to Inside the Law for the first time, LawTube streamer, Danny On. Danny, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing great. Congratulations, Rachel. I heard that there is a new Kaufman in the home.
There is. And he is, he's really cute. He's outside with my mom right now. Thank you so much. Do you have kids, Danny?
I am with child at the moment. So I'm anticipating one in July. I can't wait.
Congratulations. Yeah, it's a lot of fun being pregnant.
Yeah.
I take your word for it.
It's a challenge. It's a unique challenge that I was not expecting. And I'm really, really glad that things turned out the way that they have so far. So
it'll be great. It's all worth it.
Well, we certainly, Clyde's welcome to make a cameo anytime. I will follow your lead. But look, I want to go ahead and let's just take a look at what's going on with New York Attorney General. Well, here she is. You know her.
In the past week, Elon Musk and his so-called Department of Government Efficiency have accessed the personal private information of tens of millions of Americans and sensitive data about public and private entities, social security numbers, addresses, tax returns, and more. This unelected group, led by the world's richest man, is not authorized to have this information, and they explicitly sought this unauthorized access to illegally block payments that millions of Americans rely on. Payments for health care, child care, and other essential programs. Today, Democratic attorneys general are taking action to keep Americans' personal data secure, to keep sensitive information about Americans private, and to uphold our Constitution. We have filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration for giving unauthorized individuals access to these immensely sensitive records in violation of the law. President Trump does not have the power to give our private information away to whomever he wants. And he does not have the power to cut federal spending that Congress approved, much less to do so by giving the richest man in the world the keys to all Americans' most sensitive information. As Democratic attorneys general, we are suing to stop this unprecedented and unauthorized attack and to protect your personal information. As I've said before, no one is above the law, and I will not hesitate to uphold the rule of law and protect New Yorkers. Thank you.
All right, guys. She's going to uphold the rule of law, protect New Yorkers from Elon Musk and his efforts to save the nation from fraud, waste, and abuse. So, look, we've got this lawsuit, okay, and she's just one of a few lawsuits. She filed this thing in the Southern District of New York, and I got the ruling here, guys, and it's only like it's only like 4 pages long, but you see all the list of all the other states: New York, Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, and so on, all the blue states. And then, of course, she's suing, as she loves to do, Donald J. Trump, but this time it's in his official capacity as president. But she's also suing the Department of the Treasury, the Treasury Secretary Bessent. And you've got this judge, Paul Engelmayer, who is a district judge in the Southern District of New York. It says here he's sitting in his Part 1 capacity. Danny, we were talking about this, and we've sort of, the best way to describe this is, look, procedurally, he's not going to be the judge that the case is assigned to, but he was, the court was asked to issue some kind of emergency ruling with no hearing. This is what we call ex parte. My viewers are no stranger to the term ex parte. One-sided, didn't even give the Trump administration or anybody the opportunity to be heard. No hearing, no evidence, no nothing, just based only on the just summary allegations made in this lawsuit, which, I've looked through it. You've looked through it. It says here that they think it violates the Administrative Procedures Act because there are these special government employees, which, by the way, we now know, guys, there are 2 individuals that are executive branch employees, and these are the people that don't have the ability to change anything, but they under the supervision of the Treasury Secretary, they have access to see how the Treasury is spending the money. But they're saying that this violates the take care clause, which is, the president has to take care that the laws are faithfully executed. So they allege that it violates the Administrative Procedures Act, the take care clause, but they don't say how. They don't say how this is supposedly done. And so the court has reviewed the affirmation of Colleen Faherty dated February 7th, which is an affidavit, I guess, or something sworn to, not subject to cross-examination, but just giving this person's opinion, and without really saying why, with no analysis whatsoever. He says the court's assessment is that for reasons given by the states have shown a likelihood of success on the merits, and therefore he's going to issue this emergency relief. And he orders that a hearing is set between the regular judge, Judge Vargas, on Friday the 14th at 2 p.m. To see, if this is going to be extended or not. And then he also says they are preliminarily enjoined during the pendency from granting to political appointees. Now, the Secretary of the Treasury is a political appointee. So he, according to my reading of this, he is banned, as are the special government employees and any government agency detailed from any other agency outside the Treasury from accessing payment systems or other even data maintained by the Treasury. And he goes on to say that they have to destroy anything that they've gotten. Okay. And he gives the president and the administration to 5 o'clock on Tuesday for any reply. And that's it. He cites no law. He cites nothing that he's going to base this on. It's just sort of this, I'm going to substitute my judgment for that of the elected president of the United States. So I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to turn it over to you ladies because I want to hear what you think about this.
I'll let Danny go first.
I don't have much to say besides this is welcome to administrative law where the rules are made up and apparently facts don't matter. It seems to be, and this is not the case just in this case. We've seen this happen time and time again. As soon as they can get outside of the agency rulings and get into federal district court, they jump over there. The judge gives them what they want. And this is the agency really who's asking for this. And you can tell because they don't cite the reasons behind why they're ruling in favor of the states. They're just saying, we think that the states are going to prevail. And it's very odd. It's very odd to read a TRO like this that just says, yep, they've met the 3 elements for a TRO. So we're going to enter a TRO. Good luck. And we'll see you guys on Tuesday. No argument, no discussion, nothing for the defendant, the president of the United States, for whom these agencies are working on behalf of. Well, they're working on behalf of the American people, but he's the executive branch. It's very bizarre to have an agency head, the Treasury Department's head, their boss, being told no when it comes to fulfilling the role of the agency. And there's nothing being done here that is unprecedented. OPM has access to all of our records, all of our data. OPM should have been the one to come in and to identify fraud, waste, and abuse. But because OPM has been negligent in fulfilling their duty for so long, obviously DOGE has to come in and do that for them. That's fine. That's still under the auspices of the executive branch. So I'm just very, very confused. It's almost like the snake is biting itself, and it's doing it in a way that is not wholly unexpected, like I said, in administrative law, because this is the kind of stuff that we see with the APA all the time, where it just says, yep, APA says you get to do this kind of nonsense, and the Supreme Court has ruled in favor of it time and time again. So I don't see a lot coming out of this in terms of it being in favor of the president. I think they're going to have to appeal this. Obviously, they'll appeal the TRO. They'll have their hearing. I think they'll still get ruled against in the lower courts. And then on appeal, I think they'll win. And I think it will go up to the Supreme Court. We saw something similar, didn't we, though, with the lawsuits against the Biden administration and opening up the borders. When CPB decided that they were going to open the borders, we saw a similar lawsuit from the other side. And how that case shook out was insane to me. And how and it's precedential, though. I think what's going to end up happening is the Supreme Court is going to find the same way, which is the president gets to do this because this is all under his branch of government. So if you don't like it, that's really rough. But the take care clause of the Constitution isn't going to go that far as to tell the president no. I wish it would. I hope they change their mind. It's just unfortunate that it's going to be under President Trump, I think.
Well,
I hope I'm wrong on this.
The Southern District of New York is, it may as well be it may as well be a court out in California somewhere. This is what we call forum shopping, Rachel, right? Where you don't, you try to pick and choose where you're going to find a judge most likely to sort of go your way with things. But Rachel, I want to get your thoughts on this. I've just posted on the screen here a recent thread that I put out here on X, and folks can see it for themselves. But my thinking here is that separation of powers says that, federal courts, generally should not be interfering with how the president and the chief executive runs the executive branch. It doesn't matter that the president has tapped Elon Musk. Rachel, he could have tapped you or me or anybody else, because the president gets to decide how to run executive agencies. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. Yes, there is this thing called judicial review, but that does not mean that, the power of judicial review that started way back in Marbury versus Madison, we all learned in law school, that doesn't mean that judges can just substitute their judgment for that of the president. If they don't, you may not like how any president runs the presidency or the executive branch, but that's their prerogative. And generally, Rachel, tell me if am I wrong here about separation of powers, or do you think courts can just go too far?
No, I think the court kind of went too far here without getting all the information. I've been obviously not paying much attention to the news lately, except as just kind of like somebody on the outside looking at the forest through the trees here. What I'm kind of confused about all of this is just like, the point is to create more government efficiency, which I think is a good thing, and everyone should want that. I don't know what people are. I'm confused what everybody's so scared of, what personal information they're actually kind of like, you're so vain. Like, do you actually think they're looking at your personal information? No, they're just gathering a lot of data so that they can figure out trends and problems in spending. Maybe I'm wrong, but to me, that's what I'm like. Why are we're getting too far into the trees here? And I think, like, looking back, like listening to whatever her name is, Miss James, or that's her name, last name's James.
Yeah, Letitia James.
Yeah, I mean, it's like distracting and projecting. What are you so scared of? And this is the same thing that we'll end up talking about with Fani. When it comes to managing your budget and actually being an efficient government agency, what are you so scared of? Well, if you're not mismanaging, taxpayer dollars, I don't know. But that's my take. My take is that, people that don't like Donald Trump are not going to like how he chooses to manage.
Well, I mean, does Letitia James honestly think that, the executive branch doesn't have access? I mean, they already have access to all this stuff. I mean,
but no one cares about your personal information.
This whole talking point about, oh my God, Elon Musk has access to everybody's
he doesn't
personal.
Care for you.
That's a red herring, as it doesn't matter. It could be me. It could be you. The president could have left Elon Musk out of this and just directed the Secretary of the Treasury to do it, and it would have been the same. The president gets to decide who the president's employees are, right? And for this purposes, he has designated Elon Musk as a special government employee, as well as several others, and they actually operate out of an office in the executive office of the president, an office that was renamed but originally was established by executive order by President Obama. But we talked about, so the judge Williams, thank you for the super chat, William. William asked the question, even if it's likely to succeed on the merits, and what that means is, like, the judge is saying, well, I believe after we have a full hearing and all this stuff, and everybody gets to have arguments and witnesses and citations and briefs and all this, I believe that these plaintiffs are going to win. So he's saying that without having heard any evidence whatsoever in a courtroom and not having heard the other side's response, he believes that he says he believes that the states are going to prevail and ultimately would win the whole thing. William asks, what unreversible harm would there be if the injunction wasn't put in place? Danny, I think that was kind of what the point you were making.
Yeah, they can't name it. And it's interesting too, because you guys were talking about, well, what information are they afraid of being released? Well, the agencies are the ones that make the decision they don't make the decision as to what information they release interagency wide. Each agency has access to all of these public records. DOGE is, for better or for worse, whether you like it or not, it is a federal agency. He went through the steps of creating this sub-agency, and he's able to operate through that agency to gain access to all this information. So you're absolutely right. It's not just a practical harm that we're looking at. What legal harm is there to be done by one agency looking at the records of another?
Well, it's
the answer
speculative.
is none. So I'm not entirely sure.
it's completely speculative. Rachel, how do you issue any kind of an injunction without having some evidence before you as a judge and without giving the other side the opportunity to respond?
Well, didn't he say he was giving them till the 11th? But then in the interim, that's what I was confused. What are they responding to if he's already issuing it?
Right. So they filed this lawsuit, and within a matter of hours, this ridiculous order comes out that essentially the judge, look, the only way I know how to describe it, and succinctly, is that this judge is basically substituting his judgment for that of the elected president.
Which
but
I get.
Look, but Judge, you're over there and you're in Article 3. Okay, you're in the judicial branch, right? The president is in the executive branch. You need to stay in your lane. Now, you do have the power to reverse a president if he breaks some statutory law, but nobody said what law has been broken or how.
No, they just don't like that Elon Musk's in charge. They don't like the way politics are ruining our government. I'm not even I'm not that political. I'm like, why is it so difficult for everyone just to agree that we need to look at the government efficiency, the efficiency of our government? I don't get it. It's so sad.
Because
I'm old enough to remember where people on both sides of the aisle thought, making the government more efficient was a good thing. I mean, Democrat presidents have done, it's others, some more than others, but a lot of the stuff is just way past due in my view.
Yeah.
But each party makes so much money. That's the thing. Each party makes so much money come election season through these unelected bureaucrats who sit in these agencies, and then they run up their time. They go ahead and leave the agency, go back to private practice or to their private, jobs, and then end up donating millions and millions of dollars to these to sponsor them. So the fourth branch of government has become the most powerful branch. It's a rulemaking branch, right? They make the rules, they judge the rules, and then they get to come back and say what those rules meant post hoc. Now, not anymore, because we saw the deletion of Chevron deference. At least that last part is no longer true. But to a very large extent, it is the most powerful branch of government. And it's really sad that was allowed to come to fruition and that Congress has allowed it to come to fruition. I don't think Congress ever expected it to get this bad. I think that each individual congressman and congresswoman who voted in favor of the creation of these agencies were working in their own individual interests, and the sum is much greater than its parts, right? So, or the whole is much greater than its parts. And I don't think they were expecting it to get this bad. And unfortunately, there are just some congressmen and women who, and unfortunately, many people in the judiciary who can credit their livelihoods and their career path to one of these many agencies and the support of these unelected bureaucrats. So it's just sad.
Well, Rachel, I know that you're not going to be able to stay with us the normal duration that you might, but I want to get to you and your take on speaking of spending, the spending request made by Fulton DA Fani Willis. But before I do that, my last point on this, and folks can check it out on my Twitter feed, much, if not most, of the federal spending is discretionary. Congress can say, all right, Mr. President, you must spend this money on such and such. But a lot of it's just discretionary. So in that case, the president, as the chief executive, in his judgment, he can decide any expenditure, if it's not in the interest of the United States, it's within his power not to spend it. And like I said, he could have directed the cabinet secretaries to do what DOGE and Elon Musk are doing, but he chose to do it this way. It's his call because he's the elected president, not this judge. So anyway, that's my take. Now, I want to switch gears because Rachel, have you been keeping up with what's going on with Madam DA? Have you heard about this? Let me see if I got a little video to show you guys. Now, this is something that was posted a few weeks ago, but this is Fani Willis speaking to in some kind of public forum here. Oh, there's Clyde.
Clyde came, but anyway, we can talk about Fani together here.
All right. Well, I don't want to hurt Clyde's ears, but so at the risk of all right, everybody take a minute.
Enjoy Clyde. He's sleeping.
Let me.
Oh, he's so precious.
Yeah. He's Clydie.
I'm not a beautiful baby. But... Oh, look how handsome he is.
Are you having a boy or a girl? Do you know yet?
I'm not telling yet. I'm doing a whole like griftathon stream on it. So
my crazy ass told everybody what he was, his name. I don't know, but here we are. But it's okay. We can talk about Fani's spending. I have a lot of feelings about government spending because as I pay my taxes, I get really pissed.
Okay, well, here she is recently talking about how you can. She's soliciting, I guess, personal or not personal, but other than her salary. Well, just watch.
Obviously, you can donate. I want to say that again. So obviously, you can donate because it does finance lawyers. It finances my security. Whenever I do anything that is not necessarily DA related, but more my elected, I pay security to be with me because I never want them to say I'm using county officials to do public service. So my bills in my campaign are more. But the other thing that you can do is I would love some place where if there was a think tank when we have legal issues because we have all types of legal issues coming up. If I'm not financed properly, I'm going to sue this Board of Commissioners, period. Well, I may need lawyers to do that because if not, I'm adding to that jail population, right? It's just common sense. How many lawyers I have, that's how many cases we can indict. That's how quickly we get to dismissals, setting appropriate bonds. And, you have people that are not invested in it. We ought to be ashamed of ourselves. In Fulton County, a Democratic county, we have a Republican chair and a Republican vice chair. I don't know what in the world is going on.
I know
sorry about covering you and Clyde up, Rachel.
No, it's okay. I know what's going on. I mean, that's honestly, I told you, I was a fan of Fani. I campaigned for her. And I've been so disappointed in what her regime, she has a regime and what it's become. If she wants a think tank, she should bring in 5 respectable criminal defense attorneys, maybe a public defender or 2. We could trim the fat off of her office and off of the backlog and off of the number of cases that her office prosecutes, the number of people in the jail for literally no money. I think we'd volunteer to do it. I would volunteer to do it. The fact that it's all about suing everybody when they disagree with you or they tell you no is insane. And it's insane because you're not considering the possibility of doing less. Like private entities, when they have a bad year, they have to restructure. They have to consider cuts in reasonable places. I know that her office is prosecuting a lot of cases that should just be thrown out. The fact that she needs a security detail, the fact that she wants people to pay so that she can get attorneys to sue the Board of Commissioners. Again, all these politicians need to stop being so litigious and just focus on what they're supposed to be doing. Drives me crazy.
Let's take the Reader's Digest version of this this article about the budget. So the Board of Commissioners opted against allocating a substantial monetary increase for the DA's office when it finalized the 2025 budget, bringing a months-long standoff with Fani Willis into its next phase. The board allocated $39.3 million of its nearly $1 billion budget to the DA's office. And by the way, Danny, I know you have been a candidate for DA where you live, so I want to hear your thoughts on this, but let me finish setting the stage here. The adopted budget did not provide any additional funding requested by other justice agencies, either like magistrate courts or even the Solicitor General, which is the prosecutor who handles misdemeanor cases. This outlet reported earlier this month that Willis sent a letter in response to this that she would pursue legal action against the board. And you heard her in that video saying she's likely to sue the Board of Commissioners. She says, without adequate funding to properly serve the citizens of the county, we have to explore legal remedies, which include filing a lawsuit against the Board of Commissioners to seek a budget consistent with the number and nature of cases this office handled, she wrote in December. She didn't respond to a request on this article to comment on it. 5 of the 7 commissioners voted in favor of the budget. 2 holdouts were District 3, Barrett, and Commissioner Marvin Arrington. Now, Rachel, we have talked about Marvin Arrington before. Now, this is a different meeting about a different topic, but for those of you who might be new to the channel, this is how the Fulton Board of Commissioners operates.
We got a signed letter of intent. Shut up. Just come on. Shut up. I'm talking.
Just a minute.
You're not talking to me.
Shut
You're
up.
not talking to me.
Shut up. I'm talking.
Make me.
I'm talking.
Make me.
I'm talking.
Make me.
It's my time.
Make
It's
me.
my time.
Make me shut up.
It's my time.
I didn't think so.
Yeah.
Is that off?
No,
Welcome to Atlanta, babe.
All right. So, ladies, what in the world is going on here? I mean, Rachel, does she need more money?
No, she really doesn't. And we talk about the number of cases that her office handles. I mean, that's assuming that every case, every law enforcement arrest should result in a case in her office. There needs to be a filter at the front. She used to say when she was running for office, she talked about how there was going to be, a complaint room where she was going to have a bunch of attorneys that were competent chuck cases. And then she talks about all these cases that they throw out. Well, again, there's these low level, and the Solicitor General too, not every case that involves, an ounce of marijuana needs to be, prosecuted through their office. Just dump cases. You can get people out of jail without more resources. You just file a bond order, you file a consent bond order, you let them go. That doesn't cost that much more money. Doing the most is really not what her office needs to be doing. And this is after she spent 7 or 8 months with the special grand jury for the Trump case that went nowhere, as she continues to litigate that. Clyde says, he talks a lot like his mother. But yeah, they're wasting money. The Young Thug case was a huge failure, wasting all these resources. Maybe they shouldn't spend the money doing that kind of stuff. They need to consider what they're doing that's not right and that's wasting money, instead of how to gain more money from taxpayers to do more. Nobody wants that. Her office, again, she wants a think tank, get a few criminal defense attorneys and maybe a judge, and let us sit down with all these thousands of cases that she claims she has to prosecute. We can move them through the system. Some people need to be held accountable. But yeah, then I sent you that the other day. I can't believe this. The number of galas and awards and whatever they're doing. Stop the madness. Stop,
Danny.
The madness.
Look, Danny. It's the arrogance, right? And it's the arrogance that is just exuded by this, and saying you're going to sue the county if you don't get your way. It's like a toddler throwing a tantrum. Is this how you do business in your neck of the woods? Is this how prosecutors handle their offices out there?
I'm sure if our prosecutor could get away with doing it, he'd do it. But no, we don't play these kind of games. And it's actually shocking. How much was she asking for?
She got 32 or 3. She was asking for a considerable more than that. I don't know the number off the top of my head. It's probably in another. I'll see if I can find it while y'all talk about it. But I'm just posting this on the screen just so people can see. This is a recent, on the 13th, she's having her inauguration. She's the only prosecutor I've ever known that had an inauguration. She's having Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett as the mistress of ceremonies. And by the way, you can go to Madam DA 2025. Who calls themselves Madam DA? MadamDA2025.com, and you can decide what level of justice you want to buy here. You want to have a municipal justice at $2,500. You want to have district justice for $7,500, or maybe even supreme justice for the low cost of $25,000.
Mistresses and madams. I don't know what that sounds. I've done a little bit of work in that area before. So when you're called a madam, it tends to be illegal behavior. I don't know. This looks like it's for something, not for a re-inauguration. She's already inaugurated. I guess she's going to this is her second term. So this isn't even like her first term. And what is she going to do with all this money? Not to mention, they have a forfeiture situation where they're trying to keep all of Young Thug's, millions and millions of dollars worth of jewelry and cars and stuff. What are they doing with this money other than paying people like Nathan Wade, former, current, whatever it is, boyfriend, exorbitant amounts of money to do nothing? Unclear. Well,
Danny, do you guys inaugurate your prosecutors out there?
Oh, they definitely have parties. That's for sure. Here's the thing though. You guys are your population in Fulton County is only 1 million. Ours here is 3 million. Our budget is 2 billion. And she's asking for a substantial portion of the budget as compared to what RDA is seeking. And that doesn't include everything else, whereas RDA budget does include certain other law enforcement aspects. So I'm really shocked and astounded that she can't handle 1 million people and the crime rate of 1 million people and do her job. I just wonder how much is enough for this woman. Because if it's not what she's getting, which to me is a lot more than what other counties end up paying into the prosecutor's office, how much more does she need? And I wonder, like, where's the limit? Because if she's not doing her job now, like I said, and how many employees did she end up hiring initially? It was like 150 under her increased budget with the little program that they had running, and then they were able to retain only 55 employees, which, okay, retention problems nationwide, that's one thing. But 55 prosecutors is not a drop in the bucket. That's a lot. 55 prosecutors is a lot. And if she's just maintaining their salaries, where's the rest of the money going to go? I'm really intrigued by this. Where is the money going?
Well,
you don't need that much. Are your prosecutors getting paid bank? I'll go and apply. Like I'll go join your bar and become a prosecutor. It sounds like.
Depends on who you are.
Well, okay. I want to just say this. You know, I'm not going to be in town myself on that day, but if any of you in the chat, maybe watching this or whatever, if anybody goes and you want to just, you know, tell me what you see at this inauguration event, we'd love to hear from you. Let me know if anybody's planning to go, and if so, what level of justice are you buying in for? Just be interested to see your thoughts. If anybody knows what happens down there, would love to hear it. Look, let's just say that the reading of the room is not her strong suit. It just so happens that in a couple of days, I think it's on the 11th, Tuesday, the 11th, that's when our friend Ashley Merchant and the other attorneys who represent the various Fulton County RICO Fani Willis defendants, they have to respond to I'm sure they will, to the application that Willis filed with the Georgia Supreme Court seeking to get reinstated on that case after the Georgia Court of Appeals booted her off for her shenanigans, right? And so the Georgia Supreme Court it's called a petition for a writ of certiorari, which is a discretionary type of review. The Supreme Court doesn't have to take it. Willis has asked them to take her appeal and then to reverse the Court of Appeals. And then Ashley and the other lawyers will be responding. And that's due, I want to say, by Tuesday. And if I get time to do a stream on that, if I can get that document, I'm happy to do it. But that's coming up. And just a couple of days later, she wants to have her inauguration where she's just, making herself look like not a serious person, which, these judges on the Supreme Court, they shouldn't be fazed by things they see on social media or hear in the news or watch on LawTube streams like this, but they are human and they do have a sense for what's going on in the community. So this is not the kind of look I would be wanting to manifest to the world if I had this type of big appeal pending.
It's one of the biggest complaints that everyone has about her is her mismanagement of money. And she's just kind of feeding into and so I don't know who's paying for any level of justice. I want to see the list of people that are going and paying more than I want to go.
Well, the individual tickets here are only $500, but VIP tickets are $750. By the way, if you just look at this, here's what you get. If you go in for $25,000, you get two 10-person VIP tables. Is this like a strip club? Okay. With premier seating, speaking opportunities at the gala,
or donation limits on your campaign funds.
I don't know how this fits in there because it's just so over the top. Two recognition slides at the gala, premier digital. It's almost like she's funding a political action committee versus a campaign.
I I'm noticing real quick, because I don't know why this is so funny to me. On the bottom right, palette for the night, black, gold, pink only.
Yeah. What does this mean? Palette for the night, black,
Don't wear blue.
gold, pink only.
I don't know.
But then the invitation is purple and gold.
She could call that. I mean, and I don't know. Are our tax dollars going to whoever created this?
That's my question, because
Well-
this is bordering between utilizing your job to fundraise for your campaign and utilizing county resources for campaigning. That's my concern. Is she using county resources for campaigning, or is this coming from her own pocket?
But it is going into her own pocket. These are the
Well, I
kind of-
mean,
It's
these
going
are
into
all, well, inquiring minds want to know. We're not accusing anyone of anything. We're asking the questions, and maybe someone can help come up with the answer. But certainly not accusing anyone of misdeeds here. But I'm simply saying that it's not a good look.
It's not a good look. It's not clear. And I've never heard of a mistress of madams and mistresses of ceremonies. I'm like, what are we talking about?
I have, but not in this context.
I've had a lot of criminal cases involving prostitution rings. That's where I hear these words coming up. So I'm just confused. And they're not doing that here, but I am confused. What is going? Let's get a menu for weird stuff. I'm sure I'll know people that go to the event. I'm very sad that her career has come to this. She was a competent, prosecutor that apparently power got to her. And she just wants to expand power instead of do her job. And doing her job, justice does not require doing the most every time with everything, meaning you don't need all the money to do it. And this is why we have offices of government efficiency that are necessary, because she doesn't want to explain. That was the other part about why the Board of Commissioners denied her request for more money. She doesn't want to explain how she spends her money. It's the same issue that Phil and I have discussed before with the sheriff. I mean, he's spending $30,000 on honey baked ham or whatever that was. And I forget how much money he spent on flowers, but we've just got, those things that Ashley found out through, open records requests. And they don't want to be transparent about that because look, that's insane. God knows what she's spending money on. But yeah, what does she need $25,000 for? And where is that money going? I would like to know that if I was going to be giving that kind of money, which I will not. But
I'm suddenly so grateful for my county. Like I never knew that I should be grateful that my county is trying to model itself off of Clark County instead of Fulton County, because God forbid we were to ever look at Fulton County. I'm sorry for you guys. I really am. Like that's a significant. So we have 3 times the population, and you guys are paying half as much as us. That's insane. Your budget is $1 billion. Our budget is $2 billion, but we're triple your size. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to
I'm sorry for the people in custody in Fulton County and any of the defendants that they feel the need to just do the most with constantly. That's what I'm like, as a criminal defense attorney, that's what offends me, is that you just don't have to do that. You don't have to do it every time. Discretion is everything. Discretion saves you money.
We spend more on our criminal defense attorneys. So more goes to the criminal defense bar and to paying for our criminal defense attorneys than it does to our prosecutors here, which is how it should be, because that's the constitutional obligation of the government, is to ensure that you have proper representation. And so if it's going to cost more,
we're in the dirty, dirty South. And
well, look,
dirty here.
Speaking of, Rachel, you're talking about government efficiency. I want to, and RICO, this is a good segue. I know it's Super Sunday, won't go on too long here, but I wanted to go ahead and at least mention this. This is something that's also been in the news here. I had quote tweeted my friend Justin Hart here, and what I said is this Interviews Network scandal should be headline news. I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but this is something. 95% of its budget was paid by taxpayer dollars. It's tied to the Clintons, and I said it smells kind of like RICO, right? So Justin dig down a little deeper, as did some others. And here's this thing, okay? This is a major fraud that he says he thinks has been uncovered from the scrutiny of USAID. It funneled $476.2 million through something called the Interviews Network, which has worked with 4,291 media outlets, producing almost 5,000 hours of broadcast reached 778 million people, trained 9,000 air fingers quote journalists, supported social media initiatives, offices in 30 countries with main hubs in US, London, Paris, Kyiv, Bangkok, and Nairobi, Kenya. Led by a lady named Jeannie Bergault with a salary of $451,000 per year. Board was co-chaired by Richard Kessler, Simone Otis Cox, who are Democrat big donors, launched a $10 million fund at the Clinton Global Initiative in 2023, operates 6 subsidiaries, one in the Cayman Islands. 95%, guys, of this budget since 2008, 95% came from you and I and all of you, the taxpayers in the United States. 95% of their operating budget. The main billing location is an abandoned building in Southern California. And that's their abandoned building.
It is literally a shell company. It's
but
literally a shell.
And this is just like nuts. And WikiLeaks has digged down on it. This is nuts. It says, it says the Bergault, her bio has been scrubbed from the website, but it remains accessible on the archive.org. Records show the board being co-chaired by Democrat Richard Kessler, Simone Cox, wife of billionaires and major Democrat donors. And this just really, look at this. The $472.6 million. Again, 95% of its operating budget funded by taxpayers since 2008. And the boss lady there, $451,000 a year salary. I mean, we talk about RICO and racketeering. I just went through all that and I didn't even have it on the screen.
What do you do though if it's legally? I mean, if it's legal, if it's all discretionary spending, this is why for those who are wondering why they're freaking out about DOGE going in to look at these agencies, USAID is the tip of the iceberg. The reason he targeted USAID first this time, which was really smart, is he realized that if he was going to threaten to go after the deep state, and then he was being told that that was a fool's errand by Chuck Schumer on interviews saying, if you're going to go after him, you better do it well because you're not going to win. Well, he went after their pocketbooks first. So one of the things that people don't understand, there's an old CIA program called Operation Mockingbird, not Project Mockingbird. Go back and look. Operation Mockingbird, it's been in place since at least the 1940s, 1930s. And what it has been is using taxpayer dollars to go and propagandize to the American people. Now, they set up USAID primarily to work as an operational fund for the CIA and for the State Department. So the three work hand in hand. So, for example, you don't want the CIA knowing, you don't want the world knowing what the CIA is doing, right? So let's say I need to buy 3 cows in South Korea in order to fund this operation I'm running. I would instead reach out to the State Department. State Department would then negotiate a deal with South Korean government and probably a local NGO, right, that we would establish. My friend would establish it, right? That way my friend gets a little cut off the side too. So my friend goes and establishes an NGO in South Korea to buy these 3 cows as part of our operations. So we then send the money to my friend who owns the NGO. We get our 3 cows that we need for whatever local operation it is. Boom, bada bing, it's not traceable back to the CIA. I get my, intelligence work done. The US wins. It's a win for everybody, right? But the problem is that USAID has not been answering the call of Congress for decades. Every time Congress goes and knocks on their door and says, we want to know where the money went. We want to know what is going on with the money. We want to know, who is getting paid. They never respond. And this is even during when their officials are being called to the mat, right? When they're being called in on subpoenas, they're not responding to subpoenas. And it's not just Congress. This is also happening with the State Department. We saw it frequently at the State Department where we would be working with our other agencies, and then we'd reach out to USAID and they refuse to respond. They just won't. and they really do think they're this independent pocketbook. So for everybody who's, freaking out about this, keep in mind, these are our tax dollars. First of all, this is our money that's going off to pay off these individuals overseas who it is racketeering. Like, this is money laundering. That is exactly what it is, but it's legalized money laundering. And we designed it to be that way. But I think it's really important for people to note that this was not publicly available. They have been trying to get this to be publicly available information for a long time to defund USAID. And they have just not been providing the info.
I talked about what the boss was making, but look at the chief operating officer, $412,000 a year, plus another 25 for something else. The CEO, $396,508, and another 50 for other things. All the way down to the, I guess the lowest paid one that we can see here is the VP for External Affairs at $218,000. All of this is coming from taxpayer money, 95%. And look at this. I apologize. I didn't know that I wasn't showing this on the screen. I'm working on two different browsers, but look at this is their building, right? And you guys can go check it out for yourselves at 876 7th Street, Arcata, California, 95521. And this is the building. It's abandoned.
Well, and you guys were talking about bonding out before, right? That's how most counties make their money. If they have to, they'll go and get a bond. Well, when you bond out with these private entities like Fidelity, Fidelity was receiving money through USAID. So the money that they were lending back to us was our own money.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I don't think people are recognizing how deep this goes. And it's not just USAID. This is just one agency. This is 1% of all the spending in the U.S. government in the budget. 1%.
Well, just remember, though, federal judges get to substitute their judgment for those in the executive branch who are trying to put a stop to what you're seeing here on your screen.
So I'm having to head out because I have to go play with my baby and probably change some diapers. Danny, you're brilliant.
You're brilliant.
No, I'm really not, but wow, I learned a lot from you today, and I hope to come back on the show, Phil, with Danny. But yeah,
sure.
I would
love that.
I would vote for you for anything, Danny.
Thank you. That's so sweet. And
Vote early and often, right?
Yeah,
bring Clyde.
I will, and I can't wait to meet your baby. It'll all happen soon. It's all wild. But thank you everybody for saying hi and for loving Clyde, and I'll be back soon for more Phil fun. Hopefully with Danny, because I got an education in a lot of things today. Appreciate it.
All right, Rachel, thanks so much for spending some of your time and all the best, man. That's a great looking baby. That's
he's so handsome.
Yeah. So, look, we can wrap it here. I just, this whole thing, we got so little right now. You and I were discussing this as LawTube streamers, right? Whatever. That's how I refer to it. What my show is about, Rachel. And by the way, thanks for everybody who's here watching live. And please hit the like button. And if you hadn't subscribed, please do so. Tell your friends and your family. Subscribe to Danny's channel too. What we try to do is we try to bring people inside the real justice system and talk about what it's really like versus what people may think that it's like if all they do is get their information from TV or whatever. And so having real lawyers who work in the system is useful to that. Sometimes we are, let's just say there's not a lot of legal stuff sometimes in the news, but then we got situations like this where we've got, this crossover and sort of a mixture of law and politics. And it gives us an opportunity to kind of talk about a few other things. But Danny, what are you talking about on your channel? What's coming up? What are you following? What's going on out there?
So we are going to be doing a breakdown of the USAID disclosures, like I said, because it just hasn't been public, and it validates everything I've been saying for years. As a matter of fact, I made a post about Operation Mockingbird and how I didn't expect to get fair coverage as a Republican candidate because these fundraising mechanisms, including like the Rockefeller Foundation and whatnot, they were all receiving money through USAID. And if there is a certain narrative that USAID wants to push so that their friends can all get their payments, right? They can all get their campaign donations and opportunities. Well, then that's what they're going to push. And anything that is anti-establishment is never going to rule in favor of you in terms of financial gain and fair coverage by the media. if the media is purchased by one of these organizations, which a lot of them are. And it's insane to me that our tax dollars are going to that. So guys, go check out my channel. That's what I'm covering. I'm also covering the Karen Reed retrial. We have one murder trial. The woman who slipped her husband a bunch of fentanyl in his Moscow Mule, not once, but twice, tried to take him out and successfully did it the second time here in Utah. So I'm covering that case. It's a very interesting case. And then that's it. Just a bunch of law and politics stuff. And hopefully, we can get a confirmation going for the head of the FBI job. And we'll be covering that as well.
All right. Well, great stuff. And for those of you who mentioned us, some of you in the chat were asking about it. I have tagged her channel in the description to this video, so easy for you to find. Thanks a bunch, and we really appreciate your time. Who's going to win the Super Bowl tonight?
Can I be honest?
You don't care?
I don't know who's playing. I'm assuming.
Right.
Hold on. Can I guess it's the Chiefs? Because I know that Taylor Swift is showing up.
Well, if Taylor Swift is going to be there, that's a good indication that they are going back. I think the referees are going to win the Super Bowl, and I'm going to leave it there. Danny, thank you so much.
By the way.
Oh, you have the Eagles and the Chiefs.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I got one team right.
Yeah, you did. And it was a great guess. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much. We'll say everybody big round of applause for Danny. And all right. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you later. Thank you. All right. And thanks to all of you for being here. We're going to go ahead and call it a day here and wrap it because people have to go to their Super Bowl parties and get their chicken wings and their beer ready. And I want you guys to enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the Super Bowl, and right here, stay tuned, because as soon as we have any movement out of the Georgia Supreme Court on the Fani Willis disqualification, this is the place we'll be breaking it down. But until next time, guys, I'll see you back here inside the